4 stories, 4 different people, 4 cities, a dispatcher who took a call from 4 places at once, a motel room that cleans itself, a photograph that aged, a dead man pacing through his wife's apartment. I am the person who collected these accounts. My name is not important. What's important is what I found when I put them side by side. What's important is the address that appears in all 4 of them. Not the same address, not the same building, the same architect. I run a small independent archive of documented anomalous accounts. Not a ghost hunting operation, not sensationalism. I am a researcher. I collect testimony, cross-reference it, look for patterns that explain or fail to explain what rational frameworks cannot account for. The 4 accounts in this series came to me over 18 months, separately, through different channels, with no connection to each other that the people giving them were aware of. I noticed the connection on a Thursday evening working late, the kind of tired that loosens the brain's insistence on order and allows things to simply sit next to each other without being forced into sense. I had been mapping the properties involved, the emergency call center and its 4 simultaneous calls. I had the addresses of the 4 properties the callers had given, the motel in its room 11, the house where the photograph was kept, the apartment building where Mrs. Adler lives. 9 properties in total across 4 cities, across 4 decades of recorded incidents. I was looking at a building permit database, the kind of dry archival work that takes hours and usually produces nothing, when the name appeared for the first time. The motel had been constructed in 1971. The architect of record, a firm called Crane and Associates. I wrote it down without excitement. Returned to the database. The apartment building, Mrs. Adler's building, constructed 1968. Architect of record, Crane and Associates. I sat up. The house where the photograph had been kept. Edith Crane's house. I had the address from the account. I pulled the planning records. Designed by the same firm. 1959. And the call center. The building that housed it before it was a call center. I traced it back through its uses. Office building, 1974. Architect of record, Crane and Associates. Crane. The name of the family in the photograph, Edith Crane, Edward Crane. A firm called Crane and Associates operated between 1955 and 1979 in the north of the country. The principal architect was one Thomas Crane, born 1921, died 1979. He had 2 children, Edith and Edward. Both names I recognized from the photograph. Thomas Crane designed 47 buildings across 4 cities over 24 years. I have now identified anomalous accounts connected to 11 of them. Not all the same kind of anomaly, not the same presence, the same phenomenon, the same experience, but all of them sharing one quality that the witnesses described in different language but with identical meaning. The sense that the building itself was occupied, not haunted. That word implies a ghost, a past event, a horror. Occupied. The way a house is occupied by someone who lives there. Present, aware, settled in. Thomas Crane's personal papers, which I obtained through an architectural archive, included his notebooks from the 1960s and 1970s. They were largely technical, but in the margins of the later notebooks, the ones from the final decade of his career, he had written notes that had been cataloged as personal observations and largely ignored by the archive staff. I have read them all. I will share 3. From 1971, the year the motel was built. A building is not a container, it is a presence. What we make with intention, and intention does not leave when the scaffolding comes down. From 1974, I am beginning to think the buildings remember the people who made them, not the residents, the makers, and I am worried about what they remember of me. From 1978, 1 year before his death. I have visited 11 of them now. They know me. I am certain of it. When I walk their corridors, the quality of the air changes. I do not know if this is comfort or warning. Thomas Crane died of a heart attack in 1979 in an unidentified location. The death certificate lists the address as unknown, a clerical anomaly that the archive staff could not explain when I asked. I have a theory about where he died. I have cross-referenced the date of his death against the 47 buildings and their anomalous records. The first reported incident at the motel, room 11, occurred within a week of Thomas Crane's death. I think he went home. I think he had built himself so many homes over so many years with such intentionality and such care that when the time came, he simply returned to all of them, to the buildings that knew him, to the spaces where his intention had been woven so deeply into the walls and floors that it had become structural. I think Thomas Crane is in 11 buildings across 4 cities. I think he is very settled in. I think he means no harm, but I also think he is not alone in those buildings. And I think the things that have accumulated around him, the calls, the figures, the footsteps, the photographs, are not all him. Some of them are older than the buildings. Some of them were waiting for someone to open the door. And Thomas Crane, with his 47 buildings and his notebooks full of intention, opened 47 doors. I am still counting what came through. If you live or work in a building you suspect was designed by Crane and Associates, I'm not going to tell you to leave. Buildings are just buildings, most of the time. But if you hear sounds that cannot be explained, footsteps in empty corridors, the sense of presence in a room you just entered, a door you know you closed standing open, I want you to do one thing. Write it down. Date it. Note the time. And send it to me, because I am still counting and I do not think I have found them all. Not even close. And that is where the series ends. For now, 5 episodes, 5 witnesses, 1 architect who built himself 47 homes and never quite left any of them. The detail that I cannot stop thinking about, the one that stays with me long after the story is over, is the notebook entry from 1978, 1 year before he dies. He has visited 11 buildings and he writes, I do not know if this is comfort or warning. He didn't know either. He made something he didn't fully understand. He wove himself into 47 structures and didn't know, right up until the end, whether what he'd created was a gift or a trap. Most of us will never build a building, but we all leave something behind in the places we've lived, in the rooms where we've been afraid or happy or alone, in the hallways we've walked at 2 a.m. when we couldn't sleep. We leave our intention in the walls. And maybe, just maybe, the walls remember. That's all from Neurofear headquarters for this series. Sleep well, if you can. Smash that like button if this series kept you awake. Comment below. Tell us your location, which episode scared you most, and whether you want a season 2 of the Night Shift series. Subscribe to Neurofear HQ. New stories every single week. Share this series with someone who thinks they don't scare easily. Neurofear HQ, headquarters of your nightmares. You are one of us now.